Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. And welcome to my slightly disheveled bedroom. I am finally starting in on Queen of Shadows. I was toying around with the idea of starting this book tomorrow, but since I am doing weekly vlogs now, I kind of wanted to get a good head start on this, be able to finish this pretty quickly tomorrow. Well, I mean, let's be honest, probably not very quickly tomorrow, but finish it tomorrow, and that way I have all of the rest of the week to do my weekly reading vlog and, get to tell you my thoughts and feelings about this book as I read. And I'm actually really excited about this. I have been thinking about finishing off the series as I have seen a few of my friends on Instagram work their way through the Throne of Glass series. It's just been making me want to get back into it. So I am ready to do that. It is kind of later on Sunday. I think it's like 8:30. The sun is setting right now. And I wanted to get this intro done before the sun completely set. But my plan is to get, I don't know, at least a third of the way through this book tonight and tell you my thoughts and feelings. So already I am a little ways into this book. I don't know exactly how far because I am switching off between the audiobook and the physical reading experience. We have Aelin and she has returned to Adderlin. She has returned to the city and she is ready to get one of the word keys that she knows that Arobynn Hamel has. So in the kind of opening scene, in Celaena's opening scene, she's not the first chapter of the book, but in her opening scene, she ends up meeting Arobynn at the vault, which I think is some sort of like seedy tavern / brothel. And Pepper is chasing flies behind me. Celaena / Aelin, I'm gonna use the names interchangeably, ends up meeting up with Arobynn and saying like, hey, I need help getting my friend Aedion back. And he's like, all right, I can help you with that if you bring me one of the Vogue. And she is like, why the fuck do you want a creature from the underworld? And he's like, none of your business, help me and I'll help you. And she says, all right, it's fine, cool, let's do that. And she is withholding the information about the word keys from Arobynn. She like gives him a little bit of knowledge about kind of what's going on so that he trusts her, but she is keeping the most important knowledge to herself. She knows that he has the pendant that she lost as a child, but she is, going to be sneaky about trying to get that back. And as kind of like a parting gift after this little conversation, Arobynn says, hey, if you want to meet up with your homeboy Kale, he is in the sewers. A little sewer rat, which kind of makes sense because that's who Kale is. Celaena at this point is meeting up with Kale, and I have just gotten to the point where she is about to have like a true conversation with him. Celaena is ushered to Kale by someone named Nesrin, who I believe we get more context and like backstory for later on, but we already are getting some hints that she's kind of a badass. Like she's a little bit of an assassin type character, like our girl Celaena Aelin, whatever the fuck her name is. The first chapter of this book though is perhaps the most like dark and ominous and spooky chapter that I think we've gotten as an opening for any of these books, and it is from the point of view most likely of our beloved Dorian. Dorian has been collared in the last book, and so we know that he is under like the thrall of the King of Adderlin. He has some sort of like demonic, Vogue-esque situation going on inside of him. He is semi-conscious of what's going on, and he is kind of regretful of some of his actions perhaps, or he's like, well, if I were a prince, which I don't even know if my host body is a prince, then I wouldn't have let my daddy kill the love of my life or some shit. I don't know. It's very broody. I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of his POV for the rest of this book, so that's how far I am. I'm assuming we're going to go ahead and get some other chapters as the book carries on. I also remembered a character who I was kind of missing in the last couple of books. I can't remember exactly her name, but I think she works for Arobynn, and I think she is like a courtier, but I can't exactly recall. I just know that she ends up with our good man, Aedion. Having a good time. I am doing my laundry, and I will update you as I read. Did I get a third of the way done with this book yesterday? No, I didn't. Do I care? No, I don't. I'm trucking along though, and honestly, I forgot how simultaneously boring and also entertaining this book is. Like, I know good things are coming. I'm sort of living for the drama of it all, but also I'm like sort of bored at the same time, and I don't really know how to make sense of it all. So essentially, since we last spoke, we have our girl Lysandra, how are we saying her name? I'm gonna go with Lysandra because it just sounds cuter. She has shown up. And I told you I was excited for her to show up because I like her character, and I feel the same way still. But my question is like, what is her purpose? I know that she's like kind of down to kill our guy Arobynn, which fair enough, but I don't really understand why she wants to get in leagues with Aelin, and I'm not sure why Aelin's like, yeah, okay, my good bitch, let's hang out. I know that this money that was obtained at one point to auction off your virginity, it was basically taken from me and like used to show me that I'm nothing. We can totally be friends. And I mean, I guess I appreciate on the one hand that like Aelin isn't holding a grudge, but at the same time, I feel like I'd be a little bit upset. So no, wait, okay. I kind of get it, sort of maybe the fact that like Lysandra also lost someone she loves, and so she can kind of relate to the whole like Aelin's sad that Sam's dead sort of thing. I'm not saying get over it, girl, but I'm also just like, why are we still beating the dead Sam? You know what I mean? Like, why is he still a topic of conversation? I don't know if any of this is making any sense, but anyway, Lysandra has come into our lives and we are #blessed for it. So the main thing that's happened is that Aelin / Celaena is trying to break Aedion free, and she successfully does this by infiltrating the palace as a dancer. And she goes to the execution banquet of Adian. Hi, Pepper. Hello. He's back. And can I just say for the record, an execution banquet is camp. It is camp, it is fun, it is zesty, it is flavorful. I think that's fucking hilarious. Like, what a way to go. Did they really do that back in the day? I mean, I know this isn't like a historical book, but also I'm kind of just like question marks are arising. Aelin, Selena promises Chaol before she goes to infiltrate this banquet, I'm gonna try to save your friend Dorian. And instead she attempts to kill him. Chaol's not super happy about this and he's like, you're not my queen. That's not very nice of him. So there was a little bit of a falling out there. And I think what we're just realizing is that Chaol and Aelin just go about things in very different ways. They're maybe not the best fit. We kind of already knew this, but like things are being, we're figuring that out. Also, we know that Ezran is Chaol's slam piece, and I think Aelin figured that out since we last spoke. So like, tension. But now we are back at the apartment. We are back at Selena Aelin's dungeon of fun times, and we are going to see how Adian feels about Aelin and if he's mad. I think like the assumption is that he is going to be angry at Aelin for some reason, like maybe for not telling him that she was alive or something. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he's gonna be mad that she's been an assassin this whole time. I don't really know. All I know is that like I think he embraces her with great love and gusto. So I mean, I'm not there yet, but I have read this book before, so just guessing. But so far the vibes are good. The vibes are fun. We're loving it. Already think this book is too long. I feel like this sequence of events that just happened had both no planning behind them and also took up way too much page length and page time. So I just feel like we could have condensed, we could have retooled, we could have made this more interesting, and yet here we are. So one thing I will say that has been fascinating to me the entire time I've read the series, both this time around and last time, is Arobynn. Arobynn fucking Hamel, dude. He is just so fascinating to me. I want to understand him. I want to crack his little head open like a walnut and just like dig around. I don't understand his motivations. And I know Selena doesn't either. Like if he views her as enemy, a friend, a lover, like what? I want to know. A father figure? I don't know, but I want to know because I think he is easily the most fascinating character in this entire book series. He is so interesting to me. His actions make no fucking sense, and yet somehow I'm like, gotta be something more going on up there. Two things of little consequence, but how come considerable is such a buzzword for Sarah Janet? Like, has she ever considered using like a synonym like big ol', Like, instead of considerable length, how about big ol' dick? Considerable weight, big old demon. Additionally, please don't call me Cassie Clare for this, but how come Aelin has chemistry with literally everyone except for Rowan? How come like the 5 seconds of dialogue that she has with Adian, I'm like, oh, like heartfelt, so sweet. It's beyond me, truly. Okay, it might just be my lack of reading comprehension, but I feel like nothing's really happened and I'm almost 50% into this book. So the majority of what's happened so far in the part between when I last spoke to you and now is this sort of reunification between Aelin, I was about to say Elena, this isn't the Vampire Diaries, between Aelin and her cousin who, I don't want to say she wants to fuck, but the vibes and the tones are there, you know what I mean? And additionally, we've also had Rowan show back up, so the whole gang's here, we're ready to fight, we're ready to do some badass shit. Something I haven't talked to y'all about until this point is the fact that we have had Manon's chapters kind of sprinkled throughout, in addition to like Chaol, who we don't really give a shit about, but Manon is trying to figure out more of the plans of the King of Adarlan and kind of like what these wyverns are actually going to be doing. Like, she knows that she's going to be in the king's army, but she doesn't really understand what exactly is happening. And she's also dealing with some sort of like witchy discontent between the other witch clans that are there. And we also have a lead, Lock-in, who has come into the fold. I sort of remember from the first time that I read the series, I kind of remember her like semi-relationship that she had with Lorcan, I think. I can't fucking even remember who he is, but I know that he's a thing, and they like go through the woods together. I think he like helps her escape. I don't know. I don't really remember the details, but I do know that she is someone who is working kind of as a servant at the keep. I don't know what we're calling it. The place, Mountain Forge, Mountain Path. I cannot for the life of me remember where Manon and all of the witches are stationed, but Alid is basically a servant for them, and Asterin, Manon's second, kind of figures out that Alid is not actually a human, and that she's probably got some witchiness, some witchy woo-woo going on. Curious to find out what happens there. We're kind of in the chapter that I'm at right now. We're finding out maybe a little bit more about Elid's backstory and or getting some hints as to why she is in the mountains being a servant. She's the daughter of a lord, I want to say, so like she really shouldn't be here, but she is, and I'm curious to find out more about that. Yeah, like not much has happened. It's funny because I looked at my Goodreads review of this book the first time I read it, and I feel like I had so much to say, and I was like, Sarah, I see you, you're doing good things, and I like inserted this gif or whatever of Sophia Bush, One Tree Hill, because I was like, you're such a badass, Sarah, like this is such a good book. And it's not that I like don't like this book or I don't like the series, but at this point, I'm sort of like, I can listen to this in the background, kind of understand what's going on, and still not get anything like juicy where I want to tune in. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm not paying attention, like I definitely get it, but I'm also like, I seem to remember this being more interesting, like more fast paced, and things are happening kind of, but at a goddamn glacial pace. And not like glaciers now, which, you know, are melting at a rapid rate. I mean like glacial a couple hundred years ago before global warming, so. Ugh, what is more immaculate, this lighting or the murder that was just committed in this book? I'm just trying to chat with the people. All right, come say hi. Nugget wanted to say hello per usual. Okay, so I feel like things are finally heating up in this book, and I am happy for that. I might have read some spoilers online to just kind of like refresh my memory on what happens in this book, and I feel like I am finally at the point where things are getting interesting, and I feel like for things to get interesting at the 50% mark, I'm not that mad about it. Like it definitely could have been worse. We could have waited until the very end of this book to have some like juicy sort of plot twist or like cliffhanger, like what happened in Air of Fire. Where to even begin? First things first, there are some demon babies being made in Morath. I finally looked up the name of the place that the people are at, and by people I mean the witches. And Elid basically does some spying for Asterin and Manon, and she finds out that the yellow leg witches that were supposed to, I guess, basically breed demons are being like used and abused to breed these demons. They have already like given birth once, now they're giving birth again, and are like strapped down to tables, and it's like not great news. But unfortunately Manon has to just let it happen because her grandmother was like, hey, you get to select the witches that are going to be the breeders, for lack of a better word, for these demons. And Elid finally gets to see what the demons look like, and they're scary. They're like scaly and not human in any sense, and sort of freaky, so it's a little worrisome. And I will say I'm really liking Astrin's character in these moments because she's really like fighting back against Manon and is like, hey, mayhaps you stop listening to grandma, because she obviously doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Manon's grandma is like no longer in Morath anyway, and so it's like, why are we listening to her when she obviously doesn't know what the fuck's going on? Like, if Manon is supposed to be a wing leader, then like, may she not lead? Can she not lead? Anyway, things are tense in Morath. Things are even more juicy and exciting in Rifthold. So sadly, my favorite character has died. Arabin Hamel has his throat slit by our lovely shapeshifter Lysandra. So we find out that Lysandra is a shapeshifter, which is a really useful skill and kind of justifies her reason for sticking around, I guess, and or like why anyone would want her around, because no offense, like what the fuck was her purpose beyond being a shapeshifter? Like, what did she have to offer, really, besides her hot body? She ends up slitting the throat of Arabin after Aelin and the whole gang goes to Arabin's keep and is like, hey, we brought you a demon. He puts a ring that he stole from the demon onto Aelin's finger and is like, you're mine now. And the good news is that it was like a decoy ring, and so she's not actually going to be under the thrall of Arabin. When she goes home is when Lysandra sleeps in Arabin's bed and murders him in cold blood, which honestly, love to see it. Love to see her being a girl boss, you know? I feel like it was appropriate that she was the one to murder Arabin, and I have just enjoyed the interactions at this point too between both of the characters. Like, I feel like I'm finally starting to warm up again to these characters. I knew that I loved them, but I just wasn't really like fully convinced that I was feeling it, because I feel like Adian was being really weird towards Rowan and Aelin, and he was like, oh my god, you had Rowan swear a blood oath to you, but I want to give you my blood. A little weird. Like, it's a little weird. A little alpha protective for someone who's like supposed to be related to Aelin. That's what I'm saying. I feel like the sexual tension is there, and it's bizarre. I can't remember who said this recently. It might have been Olivia, but someone was like, oh, they're only second cousins. They're related. I don't care how many years or generations back that is. It's weird. It's weird. Okay. Anyway, I'm also just seeing a lot of parallels as I'm reading this between this book and Crescent City. I feel like Rune and Adian are very similar in their roles. I feel like the Rowan and Hunt parallels are there too. This series in general is just very similar to Crescent City, and I'm curious to see things. I almost accidentally spoiled Crescent City, but I'm not going to. Back to the book at hand, there has been some juicy sexual tension, kind of, sort of, between Rowan and Aelin. Arabin, before he has Aelin come to the keep and, like, have dinner with him, gives her some sort of, like, almond oil to rub her body down with, because he's, like, trying to have ownership over her and is like, I know you smell like that fey male, but, like, you're gonna smell like my nuts instead. And Rowan, in reaction to this, also rubs his own body down with almond oil before going to Arabin's house, which, like, what a fucking power move. We love to see it. But that's where I'm at. Clearly, it's a new day. I was intending to finish this. Oh, I was intending to finish this video yesterday, but it just didn't happen, and I want to be able to like fully devote my attention and my detail to this vlog. This vlog is only like 10 minutes long so far. I mean, it's not now that you're listening to this clip, but the parts that I've edited up until this point, it's like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I feel like I should be sharing more. All right, things are officially down to the wire. There is a lot happening. There's a lot going on, and am I going to be able to describe it all? Who fucking knows? First of all, Aylin actually did perhaps the first like shady and or impressive thing I feel like I've ever seen her do. She is supposed to be this like conniving thief and or assassin, and I feel like we never really get to see that from her. She usually makes pretty fucking stupid choices, understandably because she is pretty young, whatever. But we get to see her make some actually interesting choices. So obviously Lysandra slits the throat of our good bitch Arabin. He's dead. And then Aylin's like, you know what? Let's make sure he's extra dead. And I'm gonna chop his head off King Louis style. I guess not really King Louis style because there's no guillotine involved, but regardless, Arabin's dead. What's interesting though is that at the reading of the will, we find out that Arabin has left all of his riches to Aylin. Are we shocked? Are we surprised? We actually find out that Selena / Aylin, during this time period as they were leading up to the killing of Arabin, has been kind of trying to sneak into the vaults at Arabin's bank, maybe? Or like, I don't know, wherever he kept his will. And she switched out the copies of the will and figured out where he was keeping the pendant that she was trying to steal back from him. So she gets the pendant and she now has all of his riches and she's going to use this money to build an army. So like, honestly, good job, girl. Proud of you. So that was a move I definitely didn't see coming. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't expect anything from Aylin. I keep wanting to say Elena. Like, why? Aylin, Selena, Elena, like it all kind of goes together, you know what I mean? But we have since shifted what has happened because Lysandra, whatever the fuck her name is, our good bitch shapeshifter, gets kidnapped by the King of Adarlan. And we find out that the King of Adarlan is going to be meeting up with the bitches with the wyverns, or witches with the wyverns, whatever you would like to call them, in this forest. Selena and the gang find out about this and they're like, yo, let's go meet up in the forest and let's steal Lysandra back. And Kale is like, maybe I'll kill Dorian while I'm at it. And then we get everybody just kind of like all in one room together, which is really delightful. The King of Adarlan's really impressed by Manon. Are we shocked? Are we surprised? I'm not, because she's sort of a bad bitch. And we do get some interactions between Manon and her grandmother, and her grandmother's like, do not disrespect me, do not ask me questions. And she's like, you might be doing some stupid shit. And her grandma's like, don't question me, bitch. We're seeing some seeds of discontent being sown, and I want to say maybe in the next book grandma dies, like maybe Manon kills her or something. I just remember this bitch dies and I was like, finally. So ready for that to happen because I'm already very irritated with her. Again, Kale trying to kill Dorian, that doesn't end up happening. We also have Dorian's true personality comes out when he meets Manon. Obviously he's being controlled by a demon prince from hell, but his actual like personality and consciousness comes to the forefront when he is meeting Manon just for a second, but we know that he's still in there. And I can't remember if this is like reassuring to Kale or if he like really gets to see this interaction, but we know that Dorian's in there, which like, you know, warms the cockles of one's heart. But then shit kind of starts going south. We have a little altercation between Aylin and our good witch Manon. They have a bit of a scuffle, if you will. And this scuffle results in some people being harmed. I think Rowan ends up getting like an arrow to the chest, so he is kind of down for the count for now. He needs to like find a healer. At the very end of this scuffle, it's just kind of like a one-on-one between Aylin and Manon. Aylin ends up saving Manon's life, which I think gets Manon thinking that like Aylin might be a cool person, and also now she owes her life debt. So lots of different moving parts here. There's a lot of different things that happened in this one scene, but it was really cool seeing all of the characters like come together and seeing how they interacted. And I think my like highlight from this whole thing is definitely the Dorian Manon scene. We keep wondering what's happening to Dorian. I really forgot how much of a backseat he takes in this book. It's nice to just see that like he's still in there, and it gets you to have a renewed interest in him as a reader. Like I kind of didn't really give a shit about him for a second, and then I saw like hints of him coming out and I'm like, this is compelling. I really want to see them bone down. Kind of touched on this earlier too. I don't know why I'm like thinking about this. It's because of the boning. I said boning and then I was thinking of other characters who might bone down. I was really interested and intrigued by the fact that Rowan sort of like denies Aylin sex. Like she comes on to him and he's like, don't touch me, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't remember that happening the first time that I read these books, but it's a very unexpected reaction, and I kind of appreciate the unexpectedness of it, I guess. I don't know, because I'm just trying to think back to like other relationships in Sarah J Maas books, and it seems like everybody is on 100% the same page, and I like that there was maybe like a disconnect here. I thought that was kind of interesting. That definitely doesn't happen with Farrah Darling. She kind of, you know, rides the baloney pony at his behest pretty quickly because she's into it, which like very fair and cool, and I like their relationship too, but I think that the Rowan and Aylin one is kind of interesting. Do I think it is better than Farrah and Reese? No, but it is growing on me a little bit, and it's certainly better than Hunt and Bryce. I'll tell you that fucking much right now. So curious to see where things go, as I always say, but I truly am, because I don't really remember what the ending of this book is like. I do remember castle shattering at some point, and I think it's in this book because I know that I didn't finish Empire of Storms. I only got like halfway through that book. So unless that happens in the first part of Empire of Storms, I think that's happening in Crown of Midnight. There's been a lot of talk about toppling, I think, a clock tower or something like that, where I think there is maybe part of a word key or a word gate or some shit like that. Essentially, if this thing gets toppled over, magic will be back in the world and anyone can wield it, not just the king. I am ready for that to happen so that all hell can break loose. I'm also just ready to see Dorian go full batshit on his daddy. I just think that's going to be really fun. Like I said, I know these things are coming. I just can't remember if it's this book or not. So I shall keep reading. Will I update you again before I'm finished? I don't really know, because I only have like 2 more hours of the audiobook, which sounds like a lot, but this is a 20-hour audiobook. And that's not that much, you know what I mean? I did it. I finished this book. And I really don't know how to talk about this last part. I mean, I do, but I don't. I'll give you the high points, right? Because a lot of shit happened. Details are going to elude me. I could just feel it in my bones. I think last time I talked, which wasn't that long ago, it was a couple hours ago, the big thing that happened was that everybody kind of met up. We were getting Rowan to a healer, right? Okay. Rowan gets healed up. They devise a game plan to bring down the King of Adarlan. And a bunch of things have to happen for that to take place and for the tower or whatever to come down, but a lot of things end up going wrong in the plan, which I actually kind of enjoyed. I forgot that detail. Whenever I started listening to the big action scene, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Basically, Selena is going to be the distraction while Adian and Rowan set off Hellfire, basically blow down the tower, right? And release magic to where Selena can do her bad bitch shit, and she can kill the king, and she can get the word key I think that she needs. But this is complicated because Rowan and Adian end up getting stopped by hellhounds that Lorcan didn't end up killing. He just gave them the scent of Rowan. So they're after Rowan and Adian. They don't end up setting off the hellfire when they say they're going to. And so Selena's kind of in a bind because she has to basically go hand to hand with the King of Adarlan and also with Dorian, who is like not in his right mind. Thankfully, the hellfire gets set off eventually. Dorian ends up coming to and ends up helping Selena kill the King of Adarlan. Thank fuck. But we do learn before he's dead that some bad stuff is afoot. The reason why he's been the way he is, or at least this is what he claims, and like, how much do we really believe him? I'm not sure. In his dying moments, he says, I'm doing this all for you, my son. Like, I decided to collar you and to try to protect you from magic because I accidentally contacted a demon and I have been under the thrall of a demon myself. A lesser demon, but your uncle, the Duke, yeah, he's got the big bad daddy demon inside of him. So you can kill me and that's fine, but like, you got another thing coming with Duke Parrington, right? So it's not good. It's not good. But there's still a lot of shit that needs to be resolved. We've got Duke Parrington, who obviously we know now is the true villain. We also have Queen Maeve, who is upset about the things that Aelin has been doing. She also ended up duping Lorcan at one point. She ends up exchanging, I think, a ring for an amulet, but the amulet that she gave him is actually a false amulet, so she ends up getting the ring she wants without having to actually give up her amulet, and obviously Lorcan's gonna be pissed about this. But there's so much to it. Also, we have Manon, who ends up breaking a lead free from Morath, I want to say is the name of the place, the mountains that I couldn't remember the name of earlier, and she helps her leave. I mean, she doesn't really do that much. She's like, okay, you're kind of on your own, bitch, but like, you're welcome for helping you out. Yeah, we just know bad things are afoot, right? Also, like, Uncle Vernon, like, he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. And the book ends with a couple of cliffhangers, I guess you could say, or like open endings. We know that Chaol ended up sustaining an injury, and I don't think he has the use of his legs at this point, so he's going to try to go to a healer on the southern continent and see if he can regain use of his legs, which is a problem for another book. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell if this is problematic or ableist, or if this is just something that, I mean, does happen to some people. Some people lose the ability to walk and then regain it later. Like, that does happen in real life, so I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I'm not the authority on what is ableist and what is not, but that'll be an interesting exploration, I'm sure, when we read Tower of Dawn. And then we also have the whole gang, besides Chaol and Nezrin, going to Terrasen, because gotta raise an army, we've got to get some shit done. I think we have Lysandra, Rowan, Adian, I'm gonna call her Elena, fuck it. Yeah, going to Terrasen. But I do distinctly remember the beginning of Empire Storms, people of Terrace being like, we don't really like you very much. You've been gone too long. And it feels really nice to have someone not like Aelin. But anyway, thoughts and feelings. I definitely just gave you the rundown on this book, but I didn't really tell you how I feel about this particular part. I enjoyed the ending of this book. I remember distinctly enjoying this part of the book whenever I read it the first time, and I feel the same way this time. I thought it was fun. I feel like there were twists that happened that I wasn't expecting, especially that bit with the kind of final plan going wrong. It feels like so much just lines up in Celaena's favor all of the time, and while she is the hero of her own story, I get it. It is nice to see her kind of fail sometimes and or have some roadblocks and challenges to face. I mean, she does have a lot of challenges she faces throughout the course of the story, but I just feel like this one was particularly interesting to see. I am curious to see where the stories diverge. I don't really care about Chaol's plotline, to be honest. Like, I tend to not like spin-offs, and I feel like Tower of Dawn's kind of a spin-off, but I'm wondering if I will eventually enjoy his romance, if he's going to be a redeemable character. I am just excited to see where things go. At this point, I feel like it's kind of unclear who the true villain of the story is. Is it just the Duke of Parrington? Is Queen Maeve going to be a real cunt? I don't know. We're gonna figure that out, I'm sure. But I think that is kind of my biggest question right now. In terms of characters, I think I'm just ready to see even more character interactions. It's funny, I know I bitched that there wasn't a lot of like plot stuff happening in this book, but there were a lot of great moments with the introduction of Lysandra and Elide and all of these other like pivotal and important characters in the series. So it's like I am glad that those characters are introduced, and I am excited to see hopefully more of their interactions in the next books. I remember really rooting for Lysandra and Adian, so I feel like I must have read a decent amount of Empire of Storms. Am I wrong? I don't know, but I'm here for that, and I do again remember the whole like Lorcan lead thing, so we'll see about that. I feel like I didn't really get much of Lorcan. Maybe I just wasn't paying as much attention in this book as I have in prior readings or the first time I read it, but I feel like I still don't really understand Lorcan's character very much, but I am excited to see more of him in the next book and to like understand him better. So those are all of my juicy thoughts and feelings on this book. Not to toot my own horn, but I do feel like this this edition of this series has been the best so far. I feel like I was perhaps a little bit more upbeat for this book, which I think is a good sign because I still have some real big chunkers in this series to get through. But I am looking forward to them, and I am going to be reading one of these books a week for the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks I guess, because I still have Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, and Doom of Ash to finish. But I'm so excited to get to those because again, I've never read those books. This is the last book that I read in its entirety before kind of setting down the series. So picking up Empire of Storms should be fun, and I'm ready to share that with y'all as well. So thanks for sticking along this ride with me. I love y'all so much, and until next time.